I think one thing is very important for the CSO, it's positivity. You have to bring that positivity in the organization, that people really want to be part of it and see the change in the organization.
Hello and welcome to the CSO Impact Podcast, where we talk to leaders in sustainability and experts in the ecosystem. We're discussing how we can work in a way that has a positive impact on the planet. I'm your host, Harald Neidhardt, and in this episode, we talk to Nicola Kimm, Chief Sustainability Officer and member of the Board of Management at Heidelberg Materials. Nicola is also one of the authors in our book, Leadership for Sustainable Futures, and I'm happy that she is here with us today. Hello, Nicola. Thank you so much for being here with us. I like to start talking about your role as a CSO and a Chief Sustainability Officer at Heidelberg Materials. Can you tell us a little bit about your company and what are the projects that you and your team are working on right now?
Hi, Harald. Thanks for having me. So a little bit about Heidelberg Materials. It's one of the world's largest producers of cement, concrete, and aggregates. We have 50,000 employees, revenues of about 21 billion euro, 3,000 production sites, and we're in 50 countries around the world. And last year, we launched our Sustainability Commitments 2030, and that comprises of 4 building blocks. The first one is net zero, and it outlines how we're going to be net zero by 2050, and also how we're going to reach the most ambitious carbon reduction targets in our industry by 2030. These targets are SBTi approved, and also we've committed to capture 10 million tons of CO2 by 2030. The other building block is nature positive. So that's all about driving biodiversity at our quarries and reducing our water use. Our third building block is all about circularity, because what a lot of people don't realize is that concrete is fully recyclable. You can produce recycled concrete. We just lack the infrastructure to be able to do it. And our fourth building block is all about people. So it's about safety, community engagement, diversity, equity, inclusion, as well as supplier sustainability.
And so now you produce obviously a lot of cement as a market leader doing these great initiatives, but we still know cement is a very heavy industry using CO2 emissions with ready-made concrete, asphalt, other products. How is it possible to actually reduce this environmental impact with these products?
Well, cement is responsible for about 8% of global CO2 emissions. And so it's critically important that we decarbonize this industry. It's also the second most used material in the world next to water. And when we think about decarbonizing it, what is good to know is that 2/3 of the emissions come from the reaction itself to make clinker from limestone. So we consider these unavoidable emissions if we have cement in our concrete, and that's why it's considered a hard to abate industry. And so if we think about carbon reduction, we look at 3 levers. The first lever is product, and that's where we try to reduce the amount of clinker in the cement. We do that by using different materials to replace cement. So things like fly ash and slag. So slag comes from the steel industry, fly ash comes from the coal industry. They have cementitious properties. But these industries are also changing, modernizing, and with that, these byproducts or waste products will become less available. So that's why we look for different cementitious materials like pozzolanic materials, which are volcanic materials, or clays, so we can prepare clays in a way that can make them cementitious. So that's the first lever, and we have 2 other levers. The second lever is all around process optimization. So there we look at reducing the energy use, which is the other third of the reactions, of the emissions. And if we go to alternative fuels like waste materials, we can use municipal waste, tires, biomass, and there we can tackle these process emissions. And finally, the third lever is carbon capture. So to really get to net zero and to get those unavoidable emissions, we use carbon capture to get to net zero.
We had a lively conversation in Paris during Change Now about this, where you mentioned this project. I was really impressed. Can you maybe just talk one more sentence about this? You have a first pilot, I think, for the carbon capture.
Yeah, so we will be the industry first to deliver net zero cement to the industry. So at our site at Brevik, Norway, we have an operational scale carbon capture unit alongside our cement production. And so with net zero cement, we're really revolutionizing the cement industry. And what we've done is we've set up assurance together with our partner DNV, as well as a blockchain technology so that we can track each single ton of CO2 captured. And we can provide customers, the assurance of providing net zero carbon captured cement.
Okay, so that sounds like a promising first start. Obviously, 1 out of 3,000 sites, but I guess that the learning will then spread. We can hear a little bit about it, but I think what's interesting, you started actually your career as a manufacturing engineer, right?
Yes.
So. Yes. How did you start from there, and maybe how did you end up in sustainability? Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, I studied chemical engineering, but I also studied ecology, and I did my PhD in business engineering, but focused on circular economy. So when I joined BASF, I held different roles from manufacturing to R&D and even communications and later sustainability. And then what I did is I brought best practices in sustainability to different industries. So then I worked in the food industry with CSM. I worked in the electronics industry with Philips and later Signify, and now in the building materials industry with Heidelberg Materials. So I think having this different exposure to different industries, but being able to transfer sustainability knowledge and build strong sustainability industries has been my passion. And I think what makes these strategies successful is making sure they're close to the business. So making sure it comes to life in the organization, and also ensuring that external stakeholders understand it, creating a pull with customers, building understanding with investors, and as well as creating a interest internally so that everyone wants to be part of it. I
think you are really a role model for the role of the CSO, because you're not only, let's say, charged with leading the sustainability role, but you're also a board member, and you also have aspects of, I think, driving innovation, as we maybe can see from the Nordics experience. So there's a really full role, as we would say. There's a lot of other CSOs who maybe just start in the marketing department. So with that setting, maybe what is something of a biggest achievement that you have in your time at Heidelberg that you are proud of? Maybe you can share.
Yeah, I think what you've mentioned, the fact that my role is quite broad and covers not just sustainability, ESG, but also R&D, technology related to carbon capture, and the R&D is all about the creating new formulations based on either low carbon or circularity. And then I also have a role which links to commercialization. So it's really scaling up innovative products and driving sustainability in our business. And I think what I'm most proud of is specifically the Evo Zero launch. So what I mentioned in Brevik, because with this, we're really kicking off the launch of net zero products around the world. So what's next in line then are further carbon capture projects. The next one will be in Canada. That'll be followed by one in Mitchell, Indiana in the US. So really developing this pipeline of carbon capture projects, but alongside the circularity and carbon reduction on the product side, so that we really tackle all the different levers.
That's so cool. And let's say we know not every day is a happy day with doing a lot of innovation things. What is maybe some of the biggest challenges that you had to face in your career? And maybe a trick, how did you overcome it? What was some of the mountains you had to climb?
Yeah, I think one of the key challenges I had in my career was when I joined Royal Philips, and then it was announced that the lighting division would be spun off and we would do an IPO. So this was a huge challenge because it involved creating a whole new sustainability strategy, building on what Royal Philips had already achieved, but also involved a lot of disentanglement and really redefining the company and creating sustainability strategy, which was very much linked to the lighting industry. And this was a very exciting time and allowed for also a lot of creativity and allowed that opportunity, that space when you're redefining a company. How does sustainability fit in? How do you really bring it to the forefront of your business? And this was a challenge, but at the same time, fantastic opportunity, because we really, in the end, were able to, go further. And we had the best practices of integrated reporting, reasonable assurance on all non-financial KPIs. But by making the strategy so specific to the industry and having this very positive energy of redefining the company, this was a great success.
So let's say, just looking a little bit ahead, you have seen these career steps, but in your life, looking ahead for the role of the CSO, what do you think maybe, how would the role of the CSO actually evolve over the next 5 years?
Yeah, I see the role of the CSO already evolving in a way that, one, it becomes a board topic. It is discussed at supervisory board, at board levels, and I think it relies a lot on what I call T leadership. So having leadership which is not so specific to your expert topic, but really getting involved in different things in the organization. So we see sustainability in discussions around M&A, finance, procurement, business strategy, marketing, communications. So it is very key that as a CSO, you work very broadly in the organization, and you're willing to bring in your expertise, but at the same time, see where the connections are relevant, where you can add value to the overall company. So I see, it requires different skills, but the role of the CSO is certainly changing.
So just a follow-up question on this. So some people say the CSO is some kind of chief sustainability orchestrator, because they have to talk to all the different departments, as you just described. What would you say are maybe some of the special leadership qualities that are important in their role?
Yeah, I think learning, because you need to really understand different parts of the organization. You need to be able to build strong teams, and some of those teams could also need to have influencing skills. So I think another key skill is to be able to see what makes sense for the organization. So I've supported companies on sustainability which were 500 employees, and others which were 80,000 employees. And so finding the right fit based on what are the key challenges of the industry, how large is the company, how mature is the company on sustainability. I think as a CSO, you need to really determine what makes sense in terms of ambition level, and what can be accommodated in the way of working in terms of sustainability progress. What do you want to tackle, and which milestones do you want to set yourself?
People come to the role of CSO from, various different backgrounds. What would you say to somebody who just started as a CSO? What is maybe the most important thing they should keep in mind?
Yeah, we're seeing this more and more, that people enter CSO roles from different backgrounds. And I think it's great to get different perspectives and build a career in sustainability, but being able to draw on different experiences. I think what's very important is the ability to work across the organization, understand where the different challenges are across the organization, and exercise T leadership to really work in different departments and see where sustainability can both give opportunity but also address risks. And I think when somebody comes from a different background, it's important also to have the right experts around you. So as you build your sustainability team, and it's very specific to each industry. So if we look at Heidelberg Materials, we've chosen to have R&D in that department, business development in that department. So every company has to determine, based on both the CSO skills, but especially what does the company want to achieve through its sustainability program, how do you have the right people, the right connections in place? So not everything needs to report to the CSO, but if there's very critical topics which the CSO should be driving, I'm a proponent of having those really in the direct line of the CSO, like R&D is for me. But other topics like CSRD readiness, reasonable assurance on ESG KPIs, sometimes it is also more suitable to have those in the finance department. It really depends on where the capabilities are in the organization.
I think that's a really good point that you say, understanding the organization. So we see some CSOs actually come from within their company career, and after a couple of 2 years here, 3 years there, and they go into the CSO role and also young, fresh talent. There's not enough people who actually could study already sustainability with everything we know now. So I think that's another topic to see that this variety, and it's maybe an encouragement for young people, whoever is in charge now didn't study specifically the CSRD or all the new things. It's all new. So also there's a chance for young people and new talent to come in, because I feel it's always an encouragement if there's not been, probably your rigorous training when you were in chemical or even as your master's or your PhD, there's thing you can study, and there's like certain, laws. Now in CSO or everything with sustainability environment, we're basically seeing new studies, and we see Johan Rockström with something new. So everything is you have to have a fair amount of radar about what's actually coming and how you can deal with it. Would you say?
Yeah, and I think you raise a good point, because it's not just what you study, but it's about mindset, leadership, agility, and a lot about sustainability is that there are big step changes, but there's also kind of continuous improvement. So you have to be able to let go of what you've done in the past and create new things. So it's a mixture of creativity, process thinking, leadership. But I think one thing is very important for the CSO, it's positivity. You have to bring that positivity in the organization, that people really want to be part of it and see the change in the organization. I think that really draws people in, and that's what I've really experienced, that it changes the company culture. And then as a CSO, you have to be able to work closely with the CEO also to show how you're driving it from the top and engaging everyone.
I think that's a good point. Culture change and positivity. We like that optimism, and we need it, obviously, with a lot of things around us. Now, if young people, new talent come into the space, maybe there's an advice you can say. What is maybe a special hurdle, a mistake, something that you should warn people about and say, there's one important thing maybe some people tend to overlook when they see either this role or the all these activities?
Yeah, the advice I would give is continue to have an outside-in perspective, because, as you take on the role of the CSO, you can kind of get bogged down with a lot of internal things that you need to do and working inside the organization. But so don't lose sight of the external dialogue, talking to investors, customers, community, young employees or new employees. So I think this challenging yourself and listening to what the outside world is saying about you, and also presenting your story, your strategy, and learning from others, and not just in your own industry, but in other industries. So there's a lot of insight which you can gather, and sometimes you do have to change direction, and there's nothing wrong with that. So what I also experienced at Philips and Signify is that we had long-term targets, but some of these targets we had to revisit on an annual basis and say, these can be more ambitious. And I think having that open mind to have agility in how you manage the program is also critically important.
Very good, very good. So if you observe the challenges of large corporations in transitioning towards sustainability, what do you think keeps CSO generally awake at night with all these tasks ahead?
I think what's keeping a lot of people awake at night these days is CSRD, EU taxonomy, a lot of the increased need for KPIs, determining which KPIs to report on, and also the governance aspects related to board and supervisory board. So, these are, this is new ground that everyone has to deal with, and this will be a huge challenge in the next year. But I think once we're past the first year, I think this will also call on more data quality. So what we're seeing is that we need better IT systems and to get reasonable assurance on the KPIs we want to deliver for CSRD. So I think this is a big challenge which could be keeping people awake.
Besides being let's say a cultural driver, an orchestrator of communication, you also have to deal with the realities and be a lot into the books and the numbers, and hopefully get data from your IT department that serves you. Super complex. And now, if you mentioned already one initiative that actually one initiative was the Nordics, then you also said something about Signify when you started fresh from the Philips IPO or spun out of this company. Is there maybe another initiative that you worked on that maybe made great impact? And what would it be?
Yeah, one thing I could mention is circularity. So I mentioned that that concrete is fully recyclable, and what we've been working on in Poland is fully recycled concrete. So separating it out into constituent parts. So sand, gravel, and cement paste. So cement paste is really the part which is a high CO2 emitting part, and we can actually reuse that directly, or we can put it into another process step to recarbonate it, bind even more CO2, and make fresh recycled concrete out of it. So this is also a very exciting project. So making fully recycled concrete, and I think this is one of the key innovations that will really take off in the next years. So maybe just to add it,
is this like a chemical process?
Yeah, so it's a mechanical process to separate out the materials, but then again a chemical process to bring CO2 back into the concrete paste. And saves not only virgin materials, but also CO2.
Okay, so if you had a magic wand and you could change one thing in your company, your sector overnight, what would it be? Yeah,
I think connected to the last point, the circularity, I think if I could wave a magic wand, it would be get access to concrete demolition waste. So get it all back and be able to produce circular concrete and have the right standards in place, and have public procurement to really drive the topic, but really getting access to it, that is a big challenge. So that would be my wish.
Because isn't that also a EU initiative that a lot of the materials have to now be more recycled, and there's a lot coming of new laws and policies to foster this kind of change towards more circular economy?
Yes, there are some countries which are really front-running in the EU, but I think we need an overall governance around, especially on public procurement, to really drive the interest in circular products. I saw it in the circular lighting application, but now it's also time for circular concrete.
And Amsterdam and Holland is sort of the circular city, and I think you are very close to the city or in town. Now, I think it was very interesting to discuss with you all of these topics. We know concrete is a really tough industry, and there's a lot to do. And I'm really proud and glad to, let's say, hear your story, your leadership, and how you approach this from, your personal knowledge and how you orchestrate all of, let's say, these different challenges. So for all of you who want to know a little bit more about Nicola, you can read her essay in the book, Leadership for Sustainable Futures. And I really, really thank you so much for being here with us today and the CSO Impact podcast, Nicola. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Harald. It was a pleasure.